The man used a simple, quick draw slash, yet it completely stunned the entire mercenary group. This single move not only instantly killed a troll that would normally cost hundreds of dollars to defeat, but also completely severed its head and spine. They couldn't believe that a newly joined wanderer like me possessed such power, unaware that just days before, I was an ugly, weak vampire who gained my current strength by drinking the blood of the Forest King. Although I was still full of energy after dealing with those trolls, the mercenary group had suffered heavy casualties. So I ordered a retreat, taking only 2 men to continue deeper into Laban, the dungeon. He hadn't wanted to come with me, but thinking that I had dealt with them so easily, he figured he could handle the trolls too. Before he could finish his thought, he suddenly felt something crush under his foot. Looking down and lifting his foot, he saw a spider. Looking up again, he nearly died of fright. Previously, we only saw that the area above us was already densely packed with spiders of all sizes. They lived in a cave. These spiders could dissolve and eat their prey using a powerful acidic venom. Upon seeing so many giant spiders, Captain Patco immediately shouted for a retreat, but before he could finish, I drew my sword and charged forward. The 2 of them had no choice but to draw their weapons as well. Although Patco was still handling the situation with ease, the inexperienced Laban was quickly tackled to the ground. Just as a giant spider was about to spray its venom at his head, I quickly turned and cleaved the giant spider in 2. Then I turned back and charged to the most densely populated area. In no time, I had slaughtered all the giant spiders. Seeing this, Laban thought, "I'm truly a monster." After praising me a few times, he looked at the fat man beside him, but to his surprise, the captain's legs were moving wildly. Commander Pack stared wide-eyed, speechless, at the sight behind him. He had spotted a wanderer, a rare sight in dungeons, something they hadn't specifically considered when forming their expedition. But the one before them, judging by its size, was a Lord-level boss. After regaining his senses, Pack told me to run. This level of monster was beyond our capabilities, but they hadn't expected me to order them to retreat, declaring the spider my prey. Sensing the killing intent I had just released, their hearts clenched. They felt as if I had stolen control of their bodies, their minds consumed by a single thought: escape. Watching them flee in panic, Milion remarked that the 2 seemed to instinctively submit to me. I asked him if this giant spider was a wanderer of the same caliber as the Forest King I had previously slain. Milion replied that it wasn't a Lord-level spider, and seemed even stronger than the Forest King. Hearing this, I asked him again, "If that's the case, then its form must be even larger than the King of the Forests? Absorbing a King of the Forest last time gave me my current strength, and I can't wait to see what changes will occur after absorbing it." Just as we were talking, the giant spider let out a loud hiss at me. Seeing this, I rushed forward and quickly ended the battle. After emerging from the dungeon, Kamara hosted a grand victory banquet for me. At the banquet, I saw a small spider about to fall into my cup. With a flick of my finger, I released a silk thread and sliced it in half. After defeating the inner Lord-level spider and absorbing its form, I gained a second ability. This skill is called Disguise. Now I can first use my first skill to cover my skin with black forest, and then use the disguise skill to transform this black forest back into human skin. This way I can swagger around in the sunlight. The girls at the banquet, seeing how handsome I was after removing my mask, swarmed around me, clamoring to hear how I single-handedly slew the inner Lord-level spider in the dungeon. Some even asked if I had elven blood to possess such an unparalleled appearance. Hearing this, I thought to myself, I'm already a vampire disguised as a knight, and now there's an elf involved. Our conversation was overheard by Galfredick, who paused for a moment, then suddenly realized and ran over, shouting, "Now it all makes sense." Back in the dungeon, he'd been puzzled by my dog-like hearing and how I could hit targets 100 meters away with a spear in complete darkness. So that's why I have elven blood flowing through my veins. No wonder I'm so powerful. The girl's interest in me intensified upon hearing I was an elf. Then Galfredick leaned closer and asked, "Since you have such a face, why were you wearing a mask before?" After hearing this, I leaned slightly closer to them and said I didn't like showing my face in public. This gesture instantly captivated the girls. They then eagerly invited me to their rooms that night to watch a movie, completely convinced of my identity. I thought to myself, beauty is power. If anyone doubts me later, I can just use my elven blood as an excuse. Actually, after consuming the mode, I not only gained new abilities, but also had the remaining croton seeds. My life also vanished. At the same time, I recalled a lost memory. In the memory, I was lying in a strange place, a soft hand holding mine. Now, I'm not even sure if this is really my memory. Just as I was lost in thought, a cry for help interrupted me. Turning around, I saw Laban being strangled by Galfredic, howling in pain. Galfredic joked that he had actually abandoned me and run away from Laban, laughing and saying I wasn't human at all. An ordinary person seeing such a large creature, how could power possibly evoke excitement? Watching them playfully bicker, I was overwhelmed with emotion. I wondered what I was before becoming a vampire. Perhaps only after all the remaining tattoos on my body disappeared would I find the answer. After the banquet, we were ushered into Sir Divin's room. Galfredic bowed first, introducing himself as Clemmer, the third son of the Galfredic family. I followed suit, introducing myself as the eldest son of the Eugene family. Sir N, after thanking us, handed me a small box. Inside was the document confirming the Divan family's reuniting me. Although Sir Divan didn't understand why I needed this after being discriminated against, he didn't know my knighthood was a lie. Now, with this document, I wouldn't have to bother pretending anymore. Seeing her father begin to cough violently, Kamara rushed forward. Divan trembled and said he was truly worried about his second son. That guy's ambition was too great. Tamara assured her father not to worry, that he would manage the territory well. Sir One, who had brought him increasing prosperity, told him that what he possessed was nothing but dust. What truly mattered within a territory were its people and the land that could lead them. With these words, Sir One passed away. Although I didn't know what kind of person Sir One was, seeing so many people weeping for him, I thought he must have been a competent lord. However, not everyone shared the same feelings. There was Belk, hiding in a corner, furious that all his plans had fallen through, waiting for the funeral. After the funeral was completed, Clement prepared to return to his own territory. Before leaving, he asked if I wanted to go back with him and build a new future together. I said I had finally encountered the dungeon opening once, so I wanted to go there again. Hearing this, Clement scratched his head and said, "That's a real shame," then extended his hand and said, "I hope we'll still be friends when we meet again. Anything else?" We were about to set off, but before that, we needed to buy a horse. How could a knight be without a horse? We also needed to deal with the things we brought up from the dungeon. Equality must be established. When Ban arrived at the trading market with his goods, he was instantly surrounded by people. They had never seen anyone bring out so much stuff from the dungeon at once. So much so that my reputation spread far and wide among the merchants. At that moment, I was sitting in my office in the Merchant Guild building. The man sitting opposite me introduced himself as Bymore, a member of the Perrin Merchant Guild, responsible for handling the goods I had brought. I had been somewhat skeptical when Patrick offered to introduce me to the guild, but now I was surprised that he could connect me with such a large guild. For someone as unfamiliar with human society as myself, someone like Patrick was exactly what I needed. Just as we were about to negotiate prices, a white-haired old man suddenly burst in. Seeing him, Patrick whispered to me, "This isn't good. This man is Grell, the secretary under the vice president of the Perrin Merchant Guild. In my previous life, he was much more powerful than the person we were dealing with. He's probably here to drive down the price of our goods." Bamer naturally also noticed Grell, who was here to intercept his shipment, but before he could even speak, Grell pushed him aside, claiming he hadn't signed the contract. Then Grell stepped forward and asked, "I'm the Eugene knight who single-handedly tore off the troll's head in the dungeon, defeated a lord-level boss alone, and brought back a large amount of loot." Seeing my silence, he thought, I must be making up these rumors to inflate the price of the goods. In his mind, I was just like the other knights, a reckless fool with only strength. "Think about it," he said. The vice president of the Pylon Merchant Guild wants to talk to me about the contract. So he wants me to come with him to the guild to talk. After hearing his words, I merely glanced at him indifferently, and instantly he felt a chill run through his body. Sensing my pressure and knowing I wasn't someone to be trifled with, he lowered his stance and introduced himself, saying this was a good opportunity for me. Hearing this, my expression remained unchanged, and I asked him, "What opportunity?" Grell stammered, "Of course, it's an opportunity to handle this shipment with more favorable terms." I then repeated, "More favorable terms?" Grell was already sweating profusely, but he still managed to withstand my immense pressure and said that their vice president would personally negotiate with me. Then I repeated, "The vice president personally?" "Well, it depends on the situation." He quickly apologized, saying he meant no offense. But when I asked him what he meant by offended, his defenses completely crumbled, and he turned and ran out of the room. This moved Baimo, who was standing nearby, to tears. He thought I had even refused the vice president's contract for his sake. But I was completely bewildered. I asked Patrick what I had just done. After the initial, moved feeling, Baimo said he reiterated his promise to fully support me in the future and told me to speak freely if I had any requests. He then asked when I could bring the goods over for the contract signing. I said it was fine now, as my goods were already downstairs. Grell went back and reported what had happened to the vice president, who said it was all right. Actually, these kinds of people, for the sake of reputation and face, often make things difficult for us merchants, so we have to use our methods. If only we could get them to come downstairs, that would be fine. Especially for someone as destitute as this, who doesn't even own a horse. There's nothing money can't solve. Finally, he told Grell to prepare an irresistible gift for a poor knight like me. Downstairs, after I finished checking the goods, I suggested that Phylid stay to handle sales. Phylid asked me why I had him stay again instead of taking him to battle, saying that if it was because he lacked strength, he could start practicing swordsmanship now. Hearing this, I asked him what the duties of a retainer were. Phylid said that a retainer's duty was to assist the knight in battle and life. I said, "Isn't that right? As my retainer, your duty is to assist me in my daily life. Therefore, I want you to stay here and be responsible for selling the spoils I brought out from the dungeon to accumulate funds. Other matters will be handled by Bamer. Learn more about business from him." With that, I turned and left. Phylid, though reluctant, knew full well that without me, he would be dead long ago. Therefore, he knew he had no right to complain or demand anything. But to his surprise, after taking a few steps, I turned back and said, "Once we've accumulated enough funds, I'll consider teaching him swordsmanship. One day, he can also assist me in battle." Hearing this, the disappointment on Phylid's face vanished, and a smile appeared on his lips as he bowed to my departing figure.